All right, now we do areas of the triangles. Please listen. You must divide by 2 when finding the area of the triangle and a trapezoid. I have done decent with this with most of the 7th grade, but some of them still always forget to divide by 2, and it kills you when you're doing problems later on. And we'll show you why you have to do that. Don't have time for these today. Let's go on. Good job. Yes, good job. Area of triangles and trapezoids. All right. You can divide any parallelogram into congruent triangles. So the area of each triangle is half the area of the parallelogram. Here's what they're saying. We know how to find the area for a parallelogram. Base times height. That'll give us the area for this whole figure. Do you see how they divided this parallelogram into 2 triangles that are exactly alike? Oh, this is 1/2 of the triangle. This is the other half of the triangle. So I don't need this whole thing. I can take half of that away. Well, how can I take half away? Well, I could divide by 2, and that's what they're suggesting to do. This is trying to show you why area for the triangle is base times height divided by 2. Divided by 2. In case you missed it, we divide by 2 when finding the area for a triangle. 2. Okay? So, here's the formula. Area is base times height. I like to write it as divided by 2. They say times 1/2. That is the same thing. I find that students like this better. They do the multiplication and then they divide by 2. That number we divide by is 2. 2. That's what we divide by. You laugh right now, but when you make the mistakes, I'm going to say I only said it 17 times on the video. It's a division by 2. All right. So let's look. 20 times 12. 20 times 12. And with the triangle, we divide by 2. Okay? So, 20 times 12, if I do that over here, $240. 240 is when I multiply. Divide that by 2. That's 120. And don't forget, it was feet, so the area is feet squared. Now, for those of you who just like the rote work, that's fine. Turn it off. Stop listening for a second. If some of you noticed, oh, I could reduce 10 times 12, because I reduced the 2 and the 20. That is 120. So you can reduce before you multiply. That is okay. For those of you who didn't understand that, well, we'll work through it and maybe it'll come to you in a flash of brilliance. All right? So let's see what they did. 1/2 base times height. Okay. 20 times 12. 240 times 1/2 is 120. I like the divided by 2. They say times 1/2. Those are exactly the same thing. An altitude of a triangle is a perpendicular segment from one vertex to the line containing the opposite side. The length of the altitude is the height. So, we go from the base, right angle, we go to the height. Sometimes that's on the outer edge. Sometimes, like in that last problem, it's in the middle. From the base straight up to the tallest point. Okay? So from the base straight up to the tallest point. So we would take 30 times 24, because that is length times height, or base times height. Divide that by 2. Well, 30 times 24 is 720, if I did my math correctly. 720 divided by 2, that would be 360. And inches and inches, so inches times inches becomes inches squared. Okay, 360 inches squared. Base times height divided by 2. Please divide by 2. So the formula, here we go. Bada bing, bada boom, bada bang. Easy, easy is what you're all saying right now. When you mess it up on your homework, please remember, oh, I didn't divide by 2. 5 inches is the base. Height is 8. So 8 times 5. It's a triangle. We're going to divide by 2. That's 40 over 2. That is 20. And we don't want to forget its inches squared. Okay? And that's how many 1 by 1 squares would fit inside that triangle right there. Alright, they've got their stuff they write in. Yay! 5 times 8, just like we did. 40 times a half is 20. And they've got their answer. Just for good measure, 24 is the height times the base, which is, I'm going to make that into a decimal, 4.5. Okay? And I'm going to divide all that by 2. So 4.5 times 24. In multiplication, you do not have to line up the decimal. Just a reminder. But you do have to remember, 1 decimal here. (24) times 4.5 is 108. We have to divide that by 2. We get 54 feet squared. And we have our answer. Not overly complicated. Trapezoid is a little bit more, but really it's a similar thing. Let's see how they did it. All right. They put those numbers in when they multiplied. 108 times 1/2 is 54. All right. So the diagram shows the section of a forest being studied. What is the area of that section? Okay. So to get the area of a triangle, I'd love to say who can tell me that. Hopefully it'd be all of you by now. We would take 43.9 times 16, and all that is divided by 2. All right, so 43.9 times 16, that'd be 18, 23, 4, 26, 9, and 3, and 4. All right, that'd be 4 here, that'd be 12, that'd be 10, that'd be 7. 1 decimal place in, 702.4. 702.4 all over 2. When I do my division, okay, and we can't forget it's kilometers squared. If you would just take 8 times 43.9, you would get the same thing. Okay? All right, let's see how our math was. Okay. They took the same steps we did. Hey, we got 702.4, 351.2. We did it correct. Here's another one. Triangle. 48 times 24.5 divided by 2. Okay. All right, so 48.5 times, whoopsie, divided by 2. And let's let them do the math, because that's a lot of big work in my head that I have to do, and I'm not up for it right now, so I apologize. All right, so we've got that there. 1,176, divide that by 2, 588, and we get our wonderful, beautiful answer. Okay? Area of a trapezoid. That looks complicated. Picture of this page would be helpful. Area is height times the top parallel part, base 1, they'll call it, plus base 2, they'll call it. And we're going to take all that and we're going to divide it by 2. Okay? There's the equation. Height times base 1 plus base 2 divided by 2. And here's why we divide by 2. All right? If I were to take a shape that was exactly the same as this one, I did that wrong. Excuse me. No, I didn't. We get a parallelogram. And if we take the height, that's the base 1. For labyrinth living. We take this whole base, which is base 1 plus base 2, take it times that height. But I don't need both of these trapezoids. I only need one. That's why we cut it in 2, because this is a half we don't need. This is the half we want. So that's why we take it times that half or divide it by the 2. Okay? This slide hopefully helps you. If I take another one, we have a trapezoid. Oh, base 1 plus base 2. That gives me a whole base times the height. But I don't need this whole extra area over here, so I divide that by 2. And it's gone. All right? So let's look at this. Oh, great. They brought fractions back in. 1/2 height times... All right. So I like to think of all of that divided by 2. Okay? So what is our height in this problem? I can see that our height, it's 4. Base 1, that's the top, 12.5. Plus base 2, that's the bottom, that's 14. And I divide all that by 2. I did everything I needed to do. So if I think about that, I do my next step of the problem. That would be 4 times, okay, that would be 26.5 divided by 2. I love that they put fractions on fractions. That was just stupendous on their idea. I really think they're silly for doing that. We're going to change it to a decimal. 1/2 is the same as 0.5. I think all of you know that. We can do our multiplication. All right. 4 times 26.5 would be 106. 106 divided by 2 is 53 yards squared. And I think we'll have our answer. Please, 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 please write out the steps. You see how I wrote out multiple steps? I think that will help you stepping them out like that. If we were in class, I'd be forcing you to do it, but I can't. All right, there's where we got our 26.5 for adding them. Times 4, and then times 1/2. So we do our multiplying. They do all the multiplying in one step, and they got 53. I showed you that it was 106, and then we divided by 2. They multiplied all this in one step. Okay? All right, good. They didn't use fractions this time. So let's think about it. We've got to have our formula. We have height times base 1 plus base 2, all that divided by 2. Height, straight line from one up to the other, okay? That is our 7. Base 1 is 12. Base 2 is 16. We add the bases together. Then we divide by 2. So 7 times 28 All that divided by 2. 7 times 28. I can't do that in my head real quickly. It's 196. Divide that by 2. You get 98 centimeters squared. Knowing what base 1 is, knowing what base 2 is, multiplying them times the height, and then we divide by 2. And I showed you that picture on that first slide of why we're dividing by 2, because we have twice as much as we need by adding the 2 bases, so we have to divide by 2. All right, let's look at their work. Remember, they'll say multiply by 1/2, but that is the same as dividing by 2. All right, it accomplishes the same process. All right, look, they plugged them in. Look, they got the same numbers. They multiply them all. And they get 98. We're 2 for 2. We haven't even messed up the math yet. That's what you've got. Go back, look at these. Use them as a resource as you're doing the work. Bye, guys.